NBA trade madness as James Harden is now a Cleveland Cavalier. Why? We'll talk about that. Plus, we got Super Bowl previews galore, and we'll look at a wild close to Monday Night Raw, plus whatever you guys want to talk about. It's Couch Potato Diary, and it's live, and it's right now. Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potato Diary. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for hanging out here today on a Wednesday. We are presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca for all of that great Calgary swag. I'm not rocking any of it right now. I thought I had the hat in here somewhere, but either way, head over to seaofdead403.ca for that great Calgary swag. We got Toxic over on the Twitch chat. PK becoming a full-time streamer, ? Hey, this is what I want to be doing. I was kind of hoping to do the full-time, content creatory thing, but they asked me back at the radio, and that pays more. So that is, that's where that's at right now. But yeah, I wish I could just come on here every day. We could just talk about sports, play some video games, do all that stuff, and that could be the job. But alas, as Stone Cold Steve Austin said on his podcast when he was still doing it, and said, "Oh, they still send those gimmicks in the mail they call bills." So that's, but yeah, happy that we got this week where I'm not over there. Next week is going to be back to the radio thing, but then I think the week after we're all clear and get back into all of this fun. So the good thing is that we got a lot of stuff to talk about here in my full-time streamer era week, with James Harden getting traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers, part of a 4-trade day in the association, and we'll go a little bit more in depth on Super Bowl talk. So that is what's on the docket for today. We have Deeds in the Twitch chat. Hey, PK. Hello to you, Deeds, as well. So we got good group here. Let's dive right in and start talking basketball. As the NBA is fully in their trade season, which means absolute chaos. And this chaos has led to James Harden going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that has led me to ask just one simple question. The hell are they doing? Let's break down the Harden for Garland swap. So, the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that has struggled when getting to the postseason after strong regular seasons, figured that the antidote to that was acquiring James Harden, who maybe is the best player in the history of the NBA that fits that description. I gotta be honest, I don't get this one. I don't at all. And it's not even just the not clutch, whatever thing. Although, admittedly, that's a big part of it, is that I don't think I would go, man, I'm really struggling in the playoffs. You know what the antidote to that is? James Harden. I don't think that's a successful way of building a franchise, even a little bit. So I don't get that at all. I don't understand why they made this trade. Well, I do understand why they made this trade. I just don't understand why they think it's a good one to make from their perspective. And then just from an on-the-court style, I guess. You're not going to get much argument that even now, James Harden greater than sign Darius Garland. Like that does seem to make sense. Like, I don't know if it is that substantial of a gap, which is why it's only a second-round pick that's also going the other way. But for Cleveland, I'm going to make this case for another team later. For Cleveland, they are close enough that even just incremental gains feel like something that is worth giving up assets for. So from that standpoint, I understand it. But with an offense and a team that was already trying to figure out how to handle it with four guys, to then bring in one of the more ball-dominant guards in basketball in James Harden, again, I don't think it makes sense. Unless the NBA, in some backroom CBA negotiation, has now allowed for there to be multiple basketballs out on the court, I don't see how Harden with Mitchell, along with Mobley and Allen, is any kind of a fit at all. They were having trouble fitting it in with Garland, and now I feel like, yes, you have upgraded in talent, but fit-wise, I don't think it works all that well either. So I see the desperation. I see a lot of the why on the Cleveland standpoint. I just don't get how all of that talk, all of we need to get better, we need to do this, we need to do that, ends with James Harden. I don't get how that's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. On the Clippers side of this, I think this is a really smart trade. I think I've been pretty clear in that little bit. I'm not the biggest James Harden fan. So, no shit, I think that this is one that works for the LA Clippers as well. But they're in a unique spot because they are obviously not a competitive basketball team when it comes to winning a championship in the NBA. They're also very expensive. They're playing in a very expensive new arena, and they also, funny enough, don't have their first-round pick this year. So they can't necessarily go the traditional let's tear it all down route and try to get a bunch of picks and all of that, because part of the tear it all down part is to get really bad so you can take advantage of your draft picks, because when you're trading, if you are trading a Harden or a Kawhi or anything like that, then the draft picks you're getting are in the 20s, and that's not necessarily the rock solid foundation you want to be rebuilding from. So the Clippers in a unique spot, and I think they're managing this quite well. You get out from James Harden, which is always a strategy that I would employ, but you get a little bit younger. Well, not a little bit. You get quite a bit younger, and I think you can stay competitive enough that the pick that you give to the Thunder isn't going to be an absolutely disastrous one or anything like that. So I think it makes sense for the very unique position that they are in. But I still think the world of Garland as a potential star in the NBA. I think injuries have gotten in the way. And look, I mean, when have the Clippers ever had bad injury luck? But when he is healthy, he is a really talented basketball player. And I think I don't think we're ever going to look at Garland as best player on a championship team, but you give him a really good number one, he could be a number two and absolutely a number three on a title team. In Cleveland, it was clear that it didn't all fit the way that they wanted it to, right? With anytime one of that four got hurt, everything worked more efficiently. So I can understand where Cleveland was coming from with this. Sorry, I'm shaking the table all over the place. I can understand a little bit where Cleveland is coming from with this, and he's the one that ends up being the easiest to move on from. But I think now that he has a bit more of an opportunity with the Clippers, and now him with Kawhi, I think is a really unique setup for him to really start to thrive at the things that he is good at. So I think it's a really smart move for the Clippers, and that's not something I say a whole lot. So that's where I'm at on that one. I am sure there are going to be some fans who disagree with me. So let me know in the comments, or if you're watching live, let me know in the chat, or if you're listening, let me know on social media, any disagreements you may have on that one. The next deal of the day, Nikola Vucevic goes to the Boston Celtics for Anthony Simons. There's some second round swaps in there as well. That's actually not inconsequential to the Bulls. Like it's actually a decent second round pick that is heading their way. We'll talk about them in a second. For Boston, I do think it makes sense. I know that there's a little bit of because Simons has started to play better. It did not get off to a great start this season, but it looked like he was starting to figure out life in Boston. They were starting to figure out how to use him a little bit. And if nothing else, I think Celtics fans were hoping to shoot a little bit higher than Vucevic for what they could possibly get for Anthony Simons. But Vuce, he fills basically... It is playing the role of Al Horford this year is Nikola Vucevic. He's going to go into that spot where he's going to hang out at the three-point line and just kind of do his dance that way. I think it works. Like they needed another big. They still need some rebounding help. He's not that, but he's been shooting well from distance this season. Again, I think he fits that Horford role, at least on the offensive side, pretty effectively, and it was something that they needed at this time. I get it for the Bulls too. Like Simons is, I think, worth a bit of a lottery ticket. They did that with the Ivy trade that we'll get to here in a second. It does feel like more is coming from them because they're accumulating a lot of guards already. I don't think they looked at Brooklyn and thought, oh man, the model of 15 point guards on a roster is really working. Let's go for it. But So I think more is coming from this, but I do think Simons is an interesting piece that it's why Celtics fans were able to talk themselves into him when the trade was made in the offseason, and it's why Celtics fans were then able to talk themselves into him being part of a bigger move that could have brought a bit more of a star power-esque big into Boston than Vucevic is. And so now Chicago is going to be the next one that kind of tantalizes themselves with what the talent is on the Bulls side. Tantalizes themselves is a really bad phrase, and I apologize for saying it now twice. But they can start to see like, okay, maybe there's something going on here, and that's basically what this entire Bulls team is just a roster of, yeah, maybe, and I mean that it's certainly a choice for how to build a roster. So those are my thoughts on that one. Again, any disagreements, let me know in the comments or in the chat if you are watching this live. We have a couple more to go. I do want to remind you that we are streaming this live on multiple different platforms today over on Twitch, on Kick, and on YouTube. Coming up for those watching live, a little bit later on, we're going to get more into the Super Bowl, and we got some more wrestling talk coming up as the show rolls along. So make sure you stick around for all of that. And if you're watching this after the fact, that's the stuff we get to do on these live shows. It's just bounce around the world of sports. It's a whole lot of fun. So I hope you can come hang out with us here. All right. One of what looked like it was going to be the biggest trade of the day yesterday happened with the Memphis Grizzlies and the Utah Jazz, as Jaren Jackson Jr. is now on his way to Utah. We talked about it a little bit yesterday when we did a video game over on Twitch. Again, we'll make the plug for that there. But I like this for Utah. I think this makes sense for them. And like they were talking about it on Zach Lowe's podcast with Bobby Marks. Like, it's one thing to just, okay, we're going to tank, we're going to be bad, we're going to get all these picks and all these picks and all these picks. At some point, you got to be good again. And I think they have recognized, like, Markkanen, instead of trading him away, Markkanen is kind of a superstar that they feel they can build around. And he has played too close-ish to that level. George has been a bit of a breakout this season, and they still have pretty high hopes for Ace Bailey as well. So you now have a bit of a foundation there, and now they're going with an identity, bringing in Triple J. Walker Kessler will be back next season, and this will be a very big basketball team that will give some teams some problems. So, like, does that five of Bailey, George, Markkanen, Kessler, and Triple J, does that scream championship to me? No, but that is at least a good start. And you at least see, okay, let's build this into some kind of a winner, and then let's assess what we actually need, see what's available, and make the move. Also, it is Utah recognizing that they are very uniquely Utah. And yes, they have a ton of salary cap space this upcoming offseason. No, not a soul in free agency is signing there. So they have to make their moves by making trades. And I think this is a good one. They've used up basically all the draft capital now that they had got in the Mitchell and the Gobert trades from a few years ago. And now it's go time. And I think this could really work with Triple J, Defensive Player of the Year caliber player. You have George, who, like we said, has really come into his own this season. Markkanen feels like a superstar. Like that's what you're looking to build around, and they have done that. On the Memphis side, like they recognized it was time for a change. Bane leaving last offseason was certainly the signal that they knew that this was going a bit of a different direction. And so I think they gave it an honest try. The Jaw stuff was just terminal, it felt like, to this basketball club. And so now they're going a different way. They got a boatload of picks now to start that foundation with. And you also have a giant in Zach Edey who can be kind of a strong piece to build around, and a couple interesting young pieces that they've been able to get over the last couple of years as well. So I think it's a smart recognition here for Memphis of what's happening, what's not happening, and where they need to go from there. So I think a pretty good move all around. But again, any disagreement, or if you just want to tell me how much you agree with me, let me know in the chat or in the comments. And the last one of the day is the one that is kind of the more I guess it was the first one of the day. No, this was the second one. This was the one that happened live while we were doing the stream yesterday afternoon. But it's the 3-team trade that Huerter, Ivy, Mike Connolly also involved in this as well, plus some draft swaps and just money. I like this for the Pistons. I know some people were a little down on it because, again, Ivy felt like a trade chip that could get you a little bit more in, like, he is the tantalizing young piece in a big type blockbuster move. If they wanted to get a Giannis or an AD or something along those lines. But I do still think that this fits what they are looking for. Ivy's been shooting better this year, but I trust Herter a little bit more in the 3-point game. I don't know why I'm stumbling on all these words now. I trust him a little bit more shooting from distance, and I feel like that is a bit of an upgrade. And for a team that has spent all season first place in the Eastern Conference and has that superstar to build around in Cade Cunningham, incremental gains are important at this time. If you can just find a way to get a little bit better, he's going to be someone that they trust in clutch minutes in playoff games. You can trust him out there defensively, and he feels like the shooting piece that they have needed for a little bit here since the offseason didn't, or I guess even going back to last year, they had some needs, especially like depth scoring wise. This one I think really helps to kind of check that box for them. And then again for the Bulls, that they're going, or they have finally at least a little bit committed to a bit of a rebuilding strategy here. And when you have that, I don't mind taking the lottery ticket like they did with Simons. I like taking this with Ivy. I think he can still be a pretty solid contributing player to a pretty good basketball team. And now he's going to get a lot of opportunities to really contribute out in Chicago. It still feels like they have another move to make here. It's a weird mix out there, but I like some of the shots that they are taking right now. And then the Timberwolves part of this, they send Connolly out the door. I don't think Connolly is going to, I don't even think he flew to Chicago. I don't think he's going to spend a whole lot of time there. It gets some money off of the books if Minnesota wants to go out and make a really big splash with a couple of young pieces that they have. So they're a team that's going to be interesting here over the next 24 hours or so in basketball. But anyway, those are my thoughts on what was a wild day in the NBA's trade landscape. And I'm sure more to come because this league is never boring. But let me know your thoughts on the NBA trade period here. Do you agree with what I was saying? Do you not? And who needs to make a move now? Because now that the dust is settled from yesterday, I think we're going to see some more big names potentially moving over the next little bit. So let me know who you think needs to be taking advantage of a wild time here in the NBA. And while you're at it, if you could share this video with your basketball fan friends, I would absolutely love that. Love the group we got in the live chat right now, and those who comment on the videos as well. But if we could get a few more of you going, that would be a whole lot more fun to get more people going and involved in the chat. So hit that share button and send this out to a few people as we continue to try to grow things, so I can continue to be the full-time streamer here chatting with Toxic and everyone today. Let's now move to the National Football League. Super Bowl 60 is coming up this weekend, and it is a very unique event because it is the championship in the NFL, and there's still one team that people have major question marks about. So today, let's take a look at the path that brought the New England Patriots to Super Bowl 60 and why everyone has so much doubt around this particular football team. The road to Santa Clara for the New England Patriots wasn't all paved in gold, as it actually got off to a bit of a tough start to the season, as the Pete Carroll, Geno Smith era in Las Vegas. I'm just choked up thinking about it. It got off to a good start for Vegas as they picked up the win on opening week against the New England Patriots. And immediately it was there was a lot of buzz around the Patriots coming into the season. Made the draft for Campbell at tackle, brought in Mike Vrabel. A lot of buzz, playing in a bad division, one of the easiest schedules in the sport. But then as the offseason was winding down, it felt like a lot of that optimism was starting to fade away a little bit. And people were looking at, okay, what is this team actually, though? And so it feels funny to say this now, but at that time, the Raiders were actually where a lot of that optimism was landing. It was going from New England to Vegas. And so Vegas picking up a objectively ugly win over New England in week 1 really didn't do much to slow that down. Patriots then get a win over the Dolphins, but then lost to the Steelers. And so there's a little bit of, okay, yeah, it's just, they're a year away. That's fine. They're gonna be there, but this isn't gonna be the year that we thought it was. And then they beat back-to-back playoff teams in a win over the Carolina Panthers, and then they get a few people's attention with a good win over the Buffalo Bills. And now we get to why this Patriots team in this Super Bowl is a little bit scrutinized. Because yes, that was the start of a 10-game winning streak for the New England Patriots. However, as has been documented, here are the quarterbacks that they beat during that stretch. We are not cherry picking or anything like that. These are just straight line, the quarterbacks they beat in the 10-game win streak. Spencer Rattler, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Michael Penix Jr., Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco with no Jamar Chase, and Jackson Dart. Then they had a 4-point loss against the Bills in what was actually a game I think that did more for them to kind of build up their stock than any of those wins that I talked about. But then after that, they beat Tyler Huntley, Lamar Jackson combo. They beat Brady Cook and then Quinn Ewers. So not a murderer's row. I think that it was like that they've played X amount of fired coaches and offensive coordinators as well. Like just a really, really bad stretch of quarterbacks that they were able to take advantage of. They get to the playoffs and they haven't really proven anything either. Justin Herbert with a significantly compromised offensive line. CJ Stroud with no Nico Collins, and then very early in the game, no Dalton Schultz, and no concept of how to handle snow or cold weather, even a little bit. And then they played Jarrett Stidham in the conference championship, who is very much Jarrett Stidham. So there wasn't really this opportunity to be like, no. Now we are this team. Now you can see that we are these dudes. So should we hold that against them? On one hand, no. Like, you can only play who is in front of you. On the other hand, like, this is an absurd run of lack of quality that you have faced in a football team. So I don't really view this still as a team that we would be seriously considering in a lot of other years. I think we talked about it on Monday's show. I think if you went back over the last 10 Super Bowls, so the last 20 Super Bowl teams, I think this team is toward the bottom. Doesn't mean they will be there for long. And again, we're talking about the teams that made the Super Bowl. I'm not saying oh man, if the Raiders had that schedule, they'd be here. They still had to beat those teams. And they are still at the Super Bowl. A lot of teams would love to be the worst Super Bowl team of the last 10 years. That's just where these guys are at this particular time. Doesn't mean they can't win on Sunday. They've shown they beat the Bills. So they've beat a good team and quarterback this season. We will see if Sam Darnold can kind of fall into that realm as well. But I do think that this is a good football team. I think they're an offseason away from being a great football team. And I think we're going to find that out coming up here on Sunday at the Super Bowl. So that's the road to Santa Clara for the New England Patriots. We will get to that of Seattle's here in just a little bit. But if you have any disagreement on what I was saying, let me know in the chat. I'm imagining Patriots fans not stoked at my take on how their team got to the Super Bowl and what it tells us about how they could potentially be in this one. But if I haven't annoyed you too much, well, then you can take me with you wherever you go, and that's in podcast form. You can check out Couch Potato Diary on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. We have Toxic in the Twitch chat asking, talk about the rumor that the Jays have interest in Framber Valdez, according to John Heyman. So, wasn't on my agenda today, but love it. Let's talk about it. Should the Blue Jays actually be going for Framber Valdez? Are they actually interested in the former ace of a World Series contending team? Let's talk about it. All right, so the Toronto Blue Jays apparently are in on Framber Valdez. This, according to a report from John Heyman. I am of a few minds of this. The first, I have said before, you can never have too much pitching. And one of my criticisms of the Blue Jays for a bit was that they didn't have enough major league ready starting pitching depth if something went wrong. This would be excessive, though. Like, we have talked before about how this could be the best rotation in the American League when you have Gausman and Bieber at the top. If you Savage can continue to progress the way that you would want him to, Dylan Cease comes in on a deal. Ponce setting records in Korea for strikeouts. Jose Barrios is still there. And then you also have Bowden Francis and Eric Lauer that you can bring into the fold. This isn't a team that is really needing this. And so for Valdez, if they bring him in, that is the biggest sign in red flashing lights everywhere that Barrios is getting traded. There is no way you make this work unless Valdez is being brought in as a seventh inning guy. There's no way that you're making this all work with everyone involved in this. So there would have to be some other move coming if the Blue Jays were to actually be in on this guy. The other question is, like, should they? And I'm a firm hard no on this. It would probably be like a 1-year deal to try to get his market right after basically one pitch cost him. And it's that one pitch that has me a little bit off on it as well. If you are the Jays, you could talk yourself into, we have like the best locker room in baseball. We can absorb one hit like this and be fine. We can take that. It's okay. But this team, like, that chemistry, that camaraderie was real. And I do think that helped them get to within a couple of inches of being World Series champions. I don't think I want to be messing with that dynamic right now for a luxury purchase. There's a few whispers about what Kyle Tucker could have meant to this locker room. That one, you're bringing in one of the top 15 players in baseball. So you figure that one out. For Valdez, I think you've already brought in the best pitcher available in free agency. Like, he is good, but that moment where he throws the ball at his catcher with a pitch that he's not ready for and drills him at 93 miles an hour, no, it's not worth. I don't think it's worth it at all to bring this guy into the fold. So I'm a hard out on bringing Valdez in. The timing of this and everything, and the Blue Jays of it all, this screams to me an agent trying to get a guy's market up, right? Like this, that's what this is telling me, is that this is a pitcher who obviously the market isn't there for. It's a Blue Jays team that has been perpetually aggressive in free agency, and they have been used in this before to drive that bidding up a little bit more. So I assume that that's what this is that this is an age. Oh, well, hey, you know what? The Blue Jays are in on it. And it was really like, hey, did your guy signing anywhere? See, interested. These guys interested. I don't think there's a lot to it. I really don't. And I'm not like, John Heyman's a pretty solid insider. I'm not questioning anything like that, but these types of things happen all the time. So it makes no sense on a number of different levels for the Blue Jays to doing it, which is why I don't think there's a whole lot there to it. So I would be out. It would be a quick pass for me. Not doing it. And I don't know if I could be convinced otherwise. Now, that being said, if he signs, hey, look at that. Yeah, like a Barrios trade would have to be coming. And it would basically, like, the money would have to be basically equal or a little bit less. And I don't think Valdez is signing for that. So I don't see a world where I like it, and I don't see a world where I think it makes sense for this Blue Jays team to do that. But if you can convince me otherwise, let me know, either in the chat or in the comments, and we can keep that Blue Jays conversation going here as we quickly head toward spring training. If you are listening to this in podcast form, there isn't really a comment section there that we can chat about, at least on some platforms. So you can get at me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky, so we can keep this conversation going over there. We get back into the Super Bowl discussion. We've already looked at how the Patriots got to the big game, as some are forced to call it because of copyright laws. Now, let's take a look at the path to San Francisco for the Seattle Seahawks. Not a whole lot of people at the beginning of the season thought that this was a team that could do this. But here they are, not only in the Super Bowl, but as the favorites to take home the Lombardi Trophy. Much like the team that they play coming up on Sunday, the season did not start well for the Seahawks, so perhaps a reminder for all of us for next season. If the year doesn't necessarily start the way you want for your football team, give it some time, because the Seahawks lost on opening week to the San Francisco 49ers, but then off to a pretty good start after that. They get back on track with a 14-point win over the Steelers, a 31-point win over the Saints, and then a tight win over the Cardinals. And it was during that stretch, and even in the first game, where light bulb immediately, because I was out. I thought the offensive line was not good enough, and Geno Smith handled that pressure really, really well. Sam Darnold, who is athletic but traditionally has seen ghosts when those sorts of things happen, I thought it was a downgrade in a way that they could not afford and a way that they could not come back from. A couple of things happened. A, Sam Darnold was excellent. B, this defense showed they were championship caliber. That is where and that was just a miss, because I liked the defense last year. I don't know why I didn't like it as much coming into the season, but you see they are young, they are athletic, and they are incredibly talented all over the football field. And that is what has got them to this point, is the defense. And then I think some really smart offensive work. And I'm not just saying that because the guy who they signed, who has been running the offense this year, is going to be the head coach of my football team, the Raiders, when the Super Bowl wraps up. But a lot of times with bad offensive lines, or questionable ones anyway, and the Seahawks offensive line was better than I gave them credit for. But a lot of times you'll just do quick passes. We got to get it out. We got to get it out. We got to get it out. Let's just quick slant, boom, bang, bang, go. Cool. What they did was like, okay, well, we're not going to have a whole lot of time to throw the ball, so let's not mess with things like routes or anything. Can you just run that way really, really fast? And you, Sam Darnold, pretty good arm talent, as they say in the business, can you throw it to him very quickly? And we'll just see what happens. And they ended up taking a lot of pressure off of themselves because they quickly became the explosive play offense team, which means teams are going to back up on you a little bit, which means not as much pressure is going to be coming in your face, which means you have more time to pick teams apart, leading to bigger plays. So I think they counterpunched really effectively with this offense this season, and I was impressed. I did not see it coming from this group. And you look at it, it's not just how they were winning, but also, like, this is going to sound weird, how they were losing was kind of impressive too. Their only losses this year: a 4-point loss to San Francisco on opening week, playoff team; a 3-point loss to Tampa Bay, should have been a playoff team, looked like one at the time; and a 2-point loss to the Rams. So they're not getting blown out. They're not having the, oh my God, what a beatdown game. They are close in every game this season. They had a NFL best plus 191 point differential in the hardest division in the sport. So that is why, like, yes, you look at it and, oh wow, they lost and only beat, they beat the Saints, they beat the Cardinals. They also had a division that had 2 playoff teams in it. And with the schedule, they beat Jacksonville, playoff team. They beat Houston, playoff team. They beat the Colts, who were on the fringes of being in the playoffs until injuries struck. Yes, their win against the Rams was so weird, but they're in a position anyway for them to take advantage of a weird situation. And so they did that very, very well. So I like, you look at how hard their division is compared to getting to face Miami and the Jets twice a year. It's night and day. The schedules are so different, and still the Seahawks came away with more style points, I think, than New England did. And now they're on the best run of their season, right? Like they closed the year with that wild win over the Rams, and then they beat the Panthers and the 49ers. 3 playoff teams. And overall, again, this defense was suffocating. They allowed 3 300-yard passing seasons all year, 2 to Matthew Stafford and 1 to Baker Mayfield. Again, this was before Baker got hurt and was looking like an MVP candidate. They didn't allow a 100-yard rusher all season, and they only allowed 4 100-yard receivers all year long: Ricky Pearsall, Ibuka, McBride, and Nakua. So again, the defense was smothering. The offense was explosive, and all of it leads to one of the most complete teams in the National Football League, and the reason why they are the favorites going into Sunday's big game. So the impressive road to the Super Bowl for the Seahawks certainly dwarfs that run of the New England Patriots. Where are you guys? Like, am I overrating how the Seahawks did this season? Let me know, either in the chat or in the comments. We got Connor D. It is, I want to make sure I get this right, Connor D, 10,001, asking, PK, I got Q's, you got A's? Absolutely. I mean, if the question is, did I get A's in school? Saskatchewan, we didn't use the letter thing, so I think so, but I'm honor roll all throughout high school, so I think that averaged to an A, but I don't know. But if you have other questions than that, you can ask away. Always, Connor, free reign. You can ask any questions you want at any time. I won't bring everything to a screeching halt to answer how long of a head start I would need to beat Usain Bolt, but I will at some point answer the question. So yes, you can ask all the questions you would like, and that goes for everyone in the chat as well. Ask away, whatever you guys want. We have Renegade YYC saying Seahawks at one point in the season were looking like a nada team. I apologize. I feel like that means that they didn't look like they would be that impressive. So I don't know what that. I don't know what that's referring to. So I apologize for not being as up on things. But yeah, like it took people some time to figure out what they would be. It took people some time to figure out that, hey, this team could be something good. But yeah, like it took some getting used to. It took some, like, is this team for real? Because it's Sam Darnold. We were not. We tried to buy Sam Darnold last year and then he bit us. So how much can we really buy into it? But I think it was the defense that felt legit all season that kind of builds it up. And yeah, like the Rams win is a questionable one. There's no doubt, right? Like, they shouldn't have won that game. They should have been stopped on the 2-point conversion, and the weirdness with Charbonnet just picking it up and handing the ball to the referee, who happened to be in the end zone, and that counts as an immediate recovery, and then crossing the plane. That's a weird win. So yeah, like, it's not perfect. This is not the 07 Patriots coming into a game against the gigantic underdog that are the New York Giants, but I think once we all kind of wrapped our heads around this being a really good football team, then you start to notice it more and more and more. But it took some time for everyone to kind of buy into what they were doing. But again, they beat Jacksonville, they beat the Texans, they beat the 49ers, they beat the Rams, and in the game that they lost to the Rams, they were hanging with the Rams. So I feel like they just checked so many this team is for real boxes. And then when you watch them play, how dynamic they can be in the run game, how threatening they can be through the air with not just JSN, but also Cooper Kupp. And I think Barner is a pretty solid tight end option as well. And then the defense is just scary good. They're well coached. Like, it checks all the boxes for what I would want a championship team to be. So I'm buying what they're selling. But yeah, like at one point this year, they did not look threatening. Like at one point this year, it just looked like okay, they're gonna hang around, but they're not gonna be this much of a threat to the LA Rams. They're not. And then you watch the playoff games, and that's like Sam Darnold outdueled Matthew Stafford. That's how they won. It wasn't their defense stepped up with this. It wasn't this to that. It was Matthew Stafford lost to Sam Darnold. That's how they got here. So I'm buying it with them 100%. Connor D, when was the last time you did the 3-man weave? If you came across a meetup group in Calgary that just found open floor times or courts and just weaved, would you be tempted? If it was just a series of 3-man weaves for an hour and then we went home, I would be fun. I think at some point I would lose interest. I'd want to actually play a game. Like, it was a fun warm up, but it was as far as doing it for a long time, I'm with the right people, it would be fun. And then you start to do some tricks and stuff, right? Like, I would at some point try to do a between the legs layup. You would do like an off the backboard pass to someone and they would tip it in or dunk it, depending on who you're playing with. So yeah, like yeah, it could be fun. The last time I did one, honestly, it was an elective in college. I took Introduction to Coaching, just as an elective along with the broadcasting stuff that we had to do. And one of the ones was we had to run a practice. And so 3-man weave was because it's an easy one to explain. Like, you pass to someone on the side and then you go fill their spot and they come into the middle and they fit and you weave. It's what it's called. And so in explaining that and then executing that would probably be it. So half a lifetime ago would be the correct answer to it. But yeah, 3-man weave is always fun. Again, like I said, an hour of it might get a little repetitive, but with the right people, you could find the way to make that a little bit more fun. Back on the football standpoint, Renegade YYC again. People thought the Niners, the Rams would go to be NFC champions. People thought the Seahawks were going to fall off midseason. Yeah, that's it, right? Like, a lot of people thought the Seahawks were going to be, look at this, Sam Darnold, they're better than we expected. Isn't that great? Like, that was the peak of it. It was basically just like a, good job, buddy. You're doing great. And we're all very happy for you to keep it a little bit interesting so that the Rams don't run away with it once this 49ers electrical thing beside their stadium ends up killing everyone. Yeah, they were just this neat story, but they were going to fall off eventually. And then they didn't. Like, they've rattled off quite a few wins in a row here to close out the season, including, like I said, some big ones. Also, for those watching on the video, I forgot my dog was sleeping in here with me. And so Bellini standing up there and just her tail popping into the video, that scared the hell out of me. Because I normally don't have the pets in here now for the recordings. Professional broadcaster and all. So yeah, that kind of genuinely scared me. Hey, we okay? Oh yeah, you're such a good girl. Such a good girl. Yeah, giving me a heart attack. Yes, you did. Okay, so, all right. Renegade YYC. Insert shameless plug here. What are all the platforms you're streaming on? Glad to see you doing good, PK. Love hearing you on the radio too. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Love being on the radio, and but love doing these things with everyone here. So yeah, happy to be doing this. We are here, twitch.tv/primetimepk, kick.com/primetimepk as well. You can see that one there. And youtube.com/@couchpotatodiary is all the places that we're doing stuff on, and you can find me on social media at Primetime Klein on X, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. And of course, if you don't catch all the video stuff, you can find me podcast-wise, Couch Potato Diary, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods. So, yes, the shameless, I am never, ever, ever above shameless plugs. That is for sure. Let's keep the Super Bowl conversation going. So many times, the big game, the Super Bowl, comes down to the superstars, right? Like, it's Tom Brady doing this, it's Patrick Mahomes doing that, it's in eras gone by, it's John Elway and all of those guys. But sometimes it comes down to those X factors, those players that still good, but maybe not the guys you expect to decide a championship game. So today, we're going to look at the two X factors, the guys who, if they can step up, they can be the ones that have their team's colors of Lombardi trophy-shaped confetti falling down on them when the season wraps up. So let's look at who are the X factors for Super Bowl LX coming up this weekend. So, Super Bowl X Factors, that's what we're talking about. For New England, it's kind of a team of X Factors, right? Because Drake May is the star on this team, and a couple of other ones as well. But to me, the big guy in this game is going to be Christian Gonzalez. He is probably going to be, he's either going to be watching Jackson Smith and Jigba or Cooper Kupp. One Looked like one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League this year. The other, basically single-handedly, was part of a Super Bowl winning drive the last time he was in a Super Bowl. Like, it was, okay, the rest of you guys, that's neat. You do your thing, but it's Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp the entire way down the field, and we'll get a touchdown, and we'll win the Super Bowl. That's who you are dealing with. So if Gonzalez can have a big game in either taking away JSN or trying to lock down Cooper Kupp, then they're going to have a really good chance of winning this. Their run defense has been strong all season long. If you can force Sam Darnold to make some mistakes, then and force them to be a kind of one-dimensional team, I think you're going to be in really good shape if you are the New England Patriots. I do think it's an interesting... I do think it's an interesting one because looking at it, again, they haven't played very good quarterbacks this year, which means they haven't had to face a lot of difficulty at receiver. But I did find it noteworthy that when they faced one of those number one receivers, they actually did struggle. Olave had a good day against him. London had a good day against them. Ibuka had a good day against them as well when he looked like he was going to be a number one receiver. Like they've been got a couple of times by legitimate dudes. And in this league right now, it does not get much more legitimate than Jackson Smith and Jigba. So that is one that I would really have an eye on if I were New England. On the Seattle side, I think their X factor is... Again, you could go with a couple of them, but I think the big one is Kenneth Walker. Because like I said, like Sam Darnold just out-dueled Matthew Stafford. That is great. But the last thing you want against Mike Vrabel and this defense is to feel like you're one-dimensional. So if Kenneth Walker can be a weapon out of the backfield, he has also been really good at catching the football in the last couple of weeks. He had a really important catch to convert, I believe it was a third down, against the LA Rams, and was just really effective the whole game and has been all season long. If he can be that weapon out of the backfield, if he can be a strong runner and a successful one to set them up in 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2 sort of situations, it takes so much pressure off of Darnold. If the Patriots are able to make Seattle a one-dimensional football team, it becomes a little bit more difficult for Seattle to attack them. So I think Kenneth Walker is going to be really important for how this game goes on Sunday. So those are my X factors. Who else do you guys have an eye on? Let me know in the chat or in the comments. We got Renegade, YYC. I'm actually not excited for this bowl. I mean, I hope the Hawks don't pull a Marshawn Lynch screw up not running the ball on the 1 yard line. Yeah, who's got the better defense? That's the winner. That one coming from Renegade as well. Yeah, like the matchup at quarterback. I mean, you have like Sam Darnold, Drake May. May has not been impressive this postseason at all, really. So, like the quarterback matchup, but which defense can really kind of step it up a little bit? I do also think, and I'm gonna do one tomorrow on the best, the matchups that could decide this game as well. That offensive line for New England has to hold up way better than they've held up so far. But yeah, like I think it's been pretty clear from the start where my lean is on this game. But you look at it right now, like the quarterback, I think you're checking the box of Drake May. The guy was an MVP candidate this year. Sam Darnold's been good, but whatever. But then basically everywhere else on the football field, I like Seattle just a little bit more. Maybe not in coaching, but I think they've been coached up really, really well this year as well. So I feel like so many of the checks go in the Seattle way that it's probably going to go their way coming up here on Sunday. That's just kind of where I am on this one right now. But that doesn't mean it can't go the other way. So now, to put a bow on the Super Bowl preview portion of today, going to look at New England. If they win the Super Bowl, what does this game look like? What is the path to victory at Super Bowl 60 for the New England Patriots to try to jumpstart things post-dynasty and maybe start another run? Well, this is their path to victory for Super Bowl 60. I think for New England to win this game, it's probably going to have to be a bit of a wild, high-scoring affair. And I think the main thing is Drake May has to have the game of his life. And a lot of that is probably going to have to be creating with his legs. This defense is going to get pressure. They're too quick, too athletic, too good not to. He's going to have to create with his legs, extend plays, and they're going to have to hit big on some downfield shots. That's the way they've done it all season long, is that at some point, that bomb pass is going to connect, and it's going to work, and it's going to work in a big-time way, and it's going to shift how a football game goes. So it all comes, again, insightful analysis, it comes down to the quarterback. But they are going to, I was going to put, like, they have to protect him. It's not going to happen. This offensive line has not been good this playoff. This pass rush for Seattle has been, so you have to find other ways of addressing it. And it is what we talked about with Seattle, where let's not mess around with quick underneath, whatever, we're going. And as far as you can go in the limited time that May is going to have to throw the football, that's how far we're going. And we're going to try to come up with a big play, and May is going to have to come up with a couple of plays that extend drives and extend plays and possessions with his legs. That is the only way this team is going to be successful. On the defensive front, you have to force Sam Darnold into making mistakes. That is either making the run game null and void and forcing them to pass 45 times, or if you can take JSN away. Either if Christian Gonzalez can be that guy to do it, or Gonzalez locks in on Cooper Kupp, you slide a double team over the other way on JSN, and that's how you try to take it away. But you force Sam Darnold to force things. That is how you win this Super Bowl, is by Sam Darnold having a 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 season. Not the last two. I guess 20, cut it off at 23. 24 he was good, 25 is good. We're a month into 26. So either way, force Sam Darnold to be the Sam Darnold that we have all become accustomed to, and this team should be successful in that. So that is the path to victory for the New England Patriots. Any other keys that I've missed? Let me know. Again, either in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this after the fact. And again, share this with your football watching friends so we can keep these conversations going on Twitch, Kick, and on YouTube. Or if you're listening in podcast form, follow me on social media, and we can keep the chats going there as well. But make sure you share this wherever you're consuming this. Share this with your friends so we can grow the show and keep some of these fun conversations happening. In the chat, we are going to move to the world of professional wrestling now, but if there's more football you want to talk about, if there's baseball, if we're seeing AD rumors to the Raptors and we're getting a little worried about that, let me know in the chat and we can keep that convo going. But for now, we are going to move to the world of professional wrestling. It is the road to Wrestlemania, and some people thought that the WWE stumbled out of the starting blocks, but I don't know how you could think anything other than this is going to be awesome when you see how Monday Night Raw closed. So did the WWE save the road to WrestleMania before it even began? Let's talk about that, and let's talk about Monday Night Raw. So, WWE didn't exactly crush it at the Rumble. We got Renegade YYC in the chat. Can I switch you to WWE chat? Thoughts on the Royal Rumble? I found it a little lackluster, but I think that is due to where they were in Saudi Arabia. If I wasn't mistaken, the area was partially empty when the stadium lights were on, empty seats. So I commented on this the other day. It does, like, if you take a look at some of the actual pictures from inside the stadium, and you zoom in on the seats, there's people there. It's just the way they put the lights and the way they made it all look, it made it seem empty. And so, look, far be it from me to come to WWE's defense in Saudi Arabia. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But I do think that it wasn't as empty as it kind of seemed. The problem is that it seemed empty. So regardless of whether it was or wasn't, it's a moot point, because for us, the viewing audience, it felt empty. And perception is reality when you're in a business that, as they will tell us a billion times over, is all about cultivating that emotion and all of those things. So yeah, like Renegade, not a big fan. Toxic, wasn't a big fan. I came in here and said, like, I didn't think it was bad. I think they set up a few interesting plots that we were able to address on Monday. But yeah, like, it wasn't the winner I wanted on the men's side. And I think it highlighted a few flaws they have on the women's side. Sorry, hitting my microphone again. It highlighted a few flaws they have on the women's side as well. It was fine. I think it was better than last year's Rumble. But like, are we talking about this as like the 1992 Royal Rumble? No, we're not. No, we're not doing that. We're not going to sit down with our buddies on a Saturday night when everyone is at home watching Netflix wrestling and YouTube and putting on. Oh, man, you guys got to check out the 2026 Royal Rumble. Let's have a time. It wasn't that. It was what it was. But I do think this show on Monday highlighted why they made the decision they did in the main event, as Roman Reigns solidified why you put him in the main event of WrestleMania spot again. And it kind of reminded me of when Cena would start to come back. Like, he was the full-time guy for a little bit, and then he started to come back. And he would get into the promos, and it'd be like, oh, this is different. Because you miss it for a while, and then some other guys are cutting promos and say, oh, this guy's good. Oh, he's good. Oh, no, that's different. That's what it felt like with Roman. That promo battle with Roman and Punk was fantastic. Like, I love Braun, and I wish he was in that spot. He's not doing that. He's not cutting that promo. There is something to be said for just putting your top guys in the top guy spot. Do I think they need to do more now with Braun? Yes. Do I think they're doing a good job with it? I do. I think they've done a good job with Gunther. So they have built up this kind of next wave of star. And I understand saying next wave of star with the 40-year-old Gunther is a little but this is a sport where you can, like, the 48-year-old dude just retired. So having him be 40, that's a guy for the next 5 years at least. So you've established at least big moments, big spots for some of your up-and-coming guys. Would it be good to build them up into that main event spot? Yes. But there is something to be said for just having two dudes who are ready for it. And that's what you have in Punk and Roman Reigns. That was spectacular. And I think this is going to be a fantastic build. I am now so excited for this. I thought, like, from both characters' standpoint, it all made sense perfectly. And Roman even talking about, like, you made my life harder than it needed to be by leaving the way that you did and going on your friend's podcast. And this was one of the things I thought was really effective, is like MJF, like, undisputed top 3, maybe top 1 promo in professional wrestling right now. But he'll always, like, they go with the real life things. And that's fine. Like, you can do it. The Owen Hart one, I had a really big problem with. But, like, you can make all of those digs and all of those whatevers, and, like, the telling Jeff Jarrett that he's going to hook up with his wife so that he can find out what a Olympic gold medalist and the best wrestler in the world's balls taste like. Like, that's a good line. That's really good. But what this did, because, like, he just relies solely on, like, the real life stuff, the behind the scenes stuff, and it works for him, it works for that audience. What this did, it wasn't too inside baseball or anything like that. This wove, like, kayfabe and reality and all of these things, I thought, seamlessly together. It was, obviously, you left and all of that, but also, like, hey, I beat Drew McIntyre. I've been beating Drew McIntyre for years. That's not a big deal at all. I've been running this. Like, they treated it all like it was a sport, and that their in-sport accomplishments were worth shit talking about, while also weaving in the real life of Punk left. He went on a podcast and talked about things, and Roman Reigns was the next guy and all of that. So I thought they meshed reality and the carnival world of professional wrestling. I thought they meshed that perfectly. This was one of my favorite promos in a really long time for that reason. It's that it wasn't just using real life stuff. It was integrating some of that while also talking about the wrestling stuff as if it was real too. So I thought it was spectacular what they did with that. And any, like, I had about Roman went away entirely. I am now on board with Roman Reigns being the winner of the Royal Rumble here. And I'm now interested to see what they do with Drew McIntyre's title over on the SmackDown side. What else here from the chat? We got Renegade saying the men's Rumble, they did good with eliminating Rhodes where they did. However, I think there was a couple of botches. Hobbs failed to grab the ropes. It was, neither of them were the cleanest. That's for sure. I didn't notice, like, too many botches there. Like, Hobbs, I think he went out roughly around when he was gonna anyway. So I didn't mind the Royce Keys, I believe it is. I need to remember that one, but I didn't mind it. I didn't think it was as sloppy. Like, I I was more caught up in the story of it. I think they did a good job with that. Probably a couple of spots missed, sure, but I thought that was fine. Renegade, what the heck is with the dual Grande Americanos? Sheesh. We were waiting for Jericho or other mega returns. Oba seemed like he was utilized right. Yeah, they crushed it with Oba. They were great. The Jericho one, yeah, I kept waiting for it. And then like when it's coming up to 30 and then Gunther's music hit, it's like, oh right, he was announced as being in here. So that was one where we just kind of built it up in our head. And then nothing from him on Raw on Monday, too, really surprised me as well. So we keep kind of, and I try to not get too caught up in those types of things, like the surprises that we on the internet build up for ourselves. Because, like, the WWE hasn't said, like, oh man, watch for Chris Jericho soon. It's just this thing that we have built up. But they've also played into it with, like, Adam Pearce saying who's going to break the walls down tonight on Raw and stuff like that. Like, they are playing along with that as well. So I think we just kind of, yeah, we can build those things up. But yes, I was waiting for that as well. And then Renegade here, the Women's Royal Rumble, Nia just keeps showing how much of a lack of athlete she is. Apparently she's lost like 100 pounds, so good for her on that. But yeah, like she's not my favorite. I will say that. She's not necessarily the one that I'm like, okay, yeah, that this is who we build it around. Like she's not that. And then when you see that compared to Lash Legend, and kind of the next monsters that are going, there's a place for Nia, but I feel like she's getting pushed further and further back on the card. Okay, there's some breaking NBA news that has come down. We'll get to that here in just, actually, you know what? We'll get back to the Raw conversation in a second, because there is breaking news from the NBA. Another blockbuster deal in a series of them as the Anthony Davis sweepstakes have come to a close. All right, the Shams tweet just going out. It came up as a notification for me, so I'm 95% sure this isn't a fake. Yeah, 3.5 million followers. It's a really good fake account if it is. Either way, the trade. Breaking. The Dallas Mavericks are trading 10-time NBA All-Star Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum to the Washington Wizards for Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Bronman, Marvin Bagley III, 2 first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks. Sources tell ESPN. So, wow. A gigantic move from the NBA, and it's the Washington Wizards who are going in with all in now with the Trae Young, Anthony Davis duo. That's an interesting move for Washington. I am genuinely shocked by this. There was a lot of talk of the Raptors going in on him. That was not the move I wanted them to make necessarily, giving up the assets that they were going to have to give up. But yeah, this is wild. Look at Washington go. Very, very interesting move. Sorry, just gonna send the tweet out here really quick because holy smokes, that is there's a lot of layers to this one. So sorry, this is really bad podcasting, but I think from a Dallas perspective, this is, I think, a pretty good haul. Like, Bagley has never lived up to the draft potential, that's for sure. Like, that's obvious. But he started to turn around a little bit with some extended playing times and things like that. So Dallas taking a shot with them as well. I don't think they were in a spot they needed to acquire more young center talent. Like Gafford's probably going to be on his way out now too, but with him and Lively, like whatever. Like Middleton has really been bounced around over the last little bit, and it's not like he's going from better situation to better situation. So that's something, but maybe there's still an opportunity for them to flip him, or off the top of my head, I don't know what his contract situation is, but like Dallas is obviously going in a bit of a different direction here. Middleton with Flag can be a pretty good duo. We'll see what he ends up actually doing, if there's any role for him there. 2 first-round picks kind of helps them work toward the future a little bit more. So it's not the blowaway return you would think. Like when the Raptors were talking about it, it was like RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, and just a boatload of picks. Like that's That's not what this is. It's a few like second round picks. I don't care. 2 first round picks is fine, I guess. Like getting first round picks from the Wizards, that seems like a good thing. Like just banking on the 2-year parlay that they're going to screw something up with oft injured Anthony Davis and wildly inconsistent Trae Young. Yeah, that's a bet I'm willing to take. So that part of it seems to make sense, I think, from a Dallas standpoint. For the Wizards now, with Young and AD, like I said, that's a lot of inconsistency to just be locking your team into. But, like, Trae Young lobbing it up to AD, really interesting. And Anthony Davis had the shooting season of his life when the Lakers went on to win that title, but it hasn't really been his game ever since then. So, like that, you don't worry about that with Trae Young because he's shooting the lights out. The part of it that I wonder about a little bit is blocking the way of Sarr, who is starting to kind of figure some things out, starting to work his way through it a little bit. Again, like I liked how some of their young players were starting to come along. The Kulabes, the Sarrs, and some of those dudes. I liked how that was starting to progress a little bit. So I worry about having ball dominant Trae Young and Anthony Davis now kind of getting in the way of some of that progress when you weren't ready to go out and make some of these moves. But again, like they didn't give up a fucking thing for Trae Young, with all due respect to CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. They didn't give up a thing for him. And this, in terms of getting one of the best big men in the NBA when healthy, you're not giving up a ton. If these guys weren't factoring into any of your plans, and they probably weren't, you're not giving up a ton for it. So Washington is just kind of looking around and seeing like, okay, well, we can get, sure, like, wasn't really what we had in mind, but for that, yeah, fuck, why not? Sure, let's go for it. So they're taking advantage of where the market has been on some of these star players that have become kind of distressed assets. So the highs are really high. The potential lows could be really low, and now you're moving on from draft picks as well. Now, I don't know what the exact draft capital is, if it was parts of some other pieces from different trades or anything like that, but an intriguing trade nonetheless. So a surprising one here. And now I think the center market, which is where, I got the Raptor shirt on today, where the Raptors are going to be looking. Obviously, Sabonis now becomes the prettiest girl at the bar. I kind of thought he was anyway. But Sabonis now becomes the prettiest girl at the bar. And if this is around the asking price, that's fine. Oh, we do have the draft compensation. Sorry. Dallas is receiving a 2026 first round pick and a 2030 protected Warriors first round pick in the deal from the Wizards, along with second rounders in 26 from Phoenix, 27 in Chicago, and 29 from Houston. So they're actually not getting the Wizards picks at all. So there goes that gambly thing. But protected Warriors pick in 2030 is what it is. Like, again, I don't think the Warriors are going to be very good at that point, but if it's protected, maybe you don't get in on that either way. And the Thunder's first round pick this year, we are expecting that to be firmly planted at number 30 in the NBA draft, right? So again, like it's a bunch of stuff. And if you're Dallas, you can sell that you got a bunch of stuff as we're looking to build this. And maybe Bagley can help out this season when you now go on and flip Gafford, who I think would actually be a decent fallback option for the Raptors if the Sabonis thing doesn't work in the next 24 hours. But you got a few pieces that you can kind of flip in all of this. D'Lo is interesting as well. Like, man, that the combo of D'Angelo Russell and Trae Young, that's not how I would want to be running my franchise when I have some young players that I'm trying to get involved in things as well. But I'm not the one in charge there. So I don't know. Like, it's just a to me. Like, I'm sure if this trade happened after this and we're doing the reaction to it either later today or tomorrow, I'll probably have something a little bit more in depth. But right now, like I was saying to my wife last night when I saw the Vucevic trade and everything like that, I was just like, I've spent 0 seconds of my life thinking about who I think is better, Anthony Simons or Nikola Vucevic. I've also not dedicated a whole lot of brain power to, oh man, wonder what Vuce would look like on the Celtics. Like it feels like this, that's the same as this. It's like, oh, what would Trae Young and Anthony Davis look like together? I don't know. I don't think I would trust either of them, but okay, maybe. Like it's it's so weird. All of this it's so random. It's so weird. And so like maybe there is a bit of a note on team building in some of this where like I've been talking about, we're in a new era with the aprons and everything. And that's why I like what the Raptors are doing, where it's like you're not going to have a big three of stars anymore. And if you do, it is going to be like a pick a place, Slovenian C League depth that you have the rest of the way because no one can afford it. All due respect to Slovenian C Leagues. But the way it, like, you either get two stars, one of them kind of underpaid, and you can piece together a bit of depth, or you kind of go, again, you can only kind of see it because the picture fell the other day, the 19 Raptors with Kawhi, where you have a star player at the top, and then let's just have 9 rotation pieces that we're good putting out in any situation, and that's how we're going to roll, and we're going to be fine. But maybe now, looking at it, like with Jaren Jackson going to Utah, that's never, like, that's a big trade for Utah to make, maybe before they're ready, but they're recognizing no one's going there in free agency. So we have to go out and make a trade. And for Washington, they've kind of looked at it like, look, we don't think we're really in a spot where we can contend right now, but if these hit, these are going to be great pieces for us. So we're going to get the potential of a star player for 75 cents on the dollar. We're going to go thrift shopping. We're going to hope that the hoodie that we're getting, it looks good on the rack. You wonder why someone left it on the thrift shop rack to begin with, but we're going to go out and get it, and we're just going to hope that we can pull it off when we go to the golfing or a gala or whatever, and we're just going to hope that it holds up. That's what some of these other teams are doing, so it's an interesting strategy for Washington. I don't know if it's the timing of it all just feels weird because I like some of the young pieces that they put together and how it's starting to come together a little bit, but maybe it all meshes in one perfect bit of harmony, and we'll be looking back on this as the Wizards are celebrating their 3rd straight NBA championship, and we'll all be just laughing to ourselves at how could we possibly have doubted the Washington Wizards for going out and making all of these moves when they currently sit 14th in the NBA, or 14th in the Eastern Conference at 13-36, 10 games back of the play-in in the association right now. And if we're looking for overall record, Washington currently sits 27th, just ahead of the Pacers, Pelicans, and the Kings. And just behind, tied with the Brooklyn Nets. Weird times in the NBA with all that going on. Okay, back to the chat. Toxic, very interesting. I wouldn't mind Gafford on the Raptors. Yeah, I've liked Gafford the whole time. Like, drafted on the way through, I thought that was an amazing pickup for Dallas. That was part of the reason why they got to some of the heights that they were able to get to with Luka. Obviously, Luka was the big part of it, but they needed that kind of a big presence there. Him and Lively were a big part of it. So I don't know if Gafford fits necessarily how they run their offense or did last year through Pirtle, but they haven't had to run it through Pirtle anyway. Get that big guy down on the block. Keep letting BI and Barnes run your offense, and everything's fine there. So yeah, I would have no problem if that's the pivot that the Raptors ended up making. Sabonis, I still think it's such a good fit with this Toronto team, but Gafford, I think, helps him out defensively, although that's not necessarily the biggest need for them. They've been able to kind of scratch it together with no big there, and changes things up a little bit offensively, but it does at least help them out with it. So yeah, he would be a very, very good plan B for the Raptors to get to. So yeah, major moves happening in the NBA here today. And now again, you wait to see what the counterpunch kind of is for other teams around the league. So, yeah, crazy. And now, like, the NHL is coming up on a roster freeze as well. There are some rumors about a Panarin trade going down. Some people mentioning that the Dallas Mavericks got more for Anthony Davis than they did for Luka, which is funny. That's funny. Yeah, crazy times. All right. It feels weird to dive back into the wrestling thing. I didn't have a whole lot of major big thoughts on WWE this week, so I think we're going to leave that here. I'm going to record some stuff after we kind of sign off here on more of my raw thoughts. Plus, there's a lot of wrestling I just haven't had a chance to talk about over the last little bit, so kind of doing a month of January recap on a bunch of stuff from New Japan, AEW, and TNA. So you can catch that on the Living Room Lariat podcast. It's the wrestling spinoff that I have. That's available in podcast form, or some of the videos will be up on YouTube later today. But I think we're going to call it here for the live portion of things. Thank you all so much for hanging out today. This was a blast chatting with you guys. Let's do it a little bit later on today. We're going to do, with the trade, we got to do a basketball stream later today, don't we? NBA 2K26. We're going to be talking basketball, and we're going to continue to let the fate of the basketball gods decide our roster. So that is what is up ahead here. Next podcast stream is going to be 10 a.m.-ish Mountain Time on Thursday. So we're going to do the double dip today, and then we're going to be back Thursday morning to tape the Thursday and Friday pod, because I'm on the radio here in Calgary on Friday afternoon. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. If you're watching this live, thank you. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, like the video. On YouTube, hit subscribe. On Twitch, subscribe would mean the world to me, but a follow means just as much. And just your attention is really all that I'm after at this particular time. If you do have the means, we also have a tip jar that you could help things out financially to, again, kind of help this regular stream schedule stay as up to date as we can. And if you're listening in podcast form after the fact, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you can. Thank you so much for hanging out today. This was a blast. Love it when stuff happens while the pod's going on. Talk to you guys later here on Couch Potato Diary.